Hi, this is Paul Roberts, Conscious Counseling 101, sharing my small little corner of the world with you. If you understand Paul Roberts more, maybe you'll understand some of the things that Paul Roberts has to say. Okay, so this is where I sit every day and do part of my work. Some of my work that I do is video production. Some of my work that I do is artistic and creation of various things such as props. I've worked for the movies. I've done set design, architecture work. I've done prop building, set building, art direction work, production assistance. I've done all kinds of things in the creative realm since art school. And this is this place where I sit, and this is where I talk to you with Conscious Counseling 101. I have a very small, humble existence. Some of my existence is drawn from the idea that I've been about exploration and analysis of my world environment. What we have here in this small little area that I sit is a mixture of places I've been, artifacts I've brought back, things I've studied, things that movies have made, things that I have made for movies, things that I have made for an emulation of a character in the movies. These things are around me. So let me just go over a few things. So we have various things you might see, depending on how the camera is positioned. It's usually not positioned anything different than my face. I have guns around. These things are plastic, non-moving replicas. This particular one is Rick O'Connell, the Mummy. I made that because I like to dress up as some of these heroes and go to conventions and different things like that, Halloween, things like this. And you have to have the implements that the character has in order to dress up. Here we have like various things that I have for Indiana Jones. That's one of the characters I like, one of the heroes that I like. I really like the Lone Ranger, but I haven't been able to afford that costume. I don't do a lot of sewing, and so I don't have many of his things. In fact, I don't have any of his things. But I am very much into the character that Clayton Moore portrayed and cared very much about. And so much so that he dedicated his life to that character. He poured everything he had into that character. And I grew up with those altruistic ideas. And some of those other ideas in characters that I like, such as Batman and whatnot, and the Lone Ranger, different cowboys, Indiana Jones, Rick O'Connell from the Mummy, different people that I see emulate the spirit of adventure and exploration and whatnot. And trying to, like Batman, for instance, I know I was young. I was born in 1965, and Batman took a big importance in my life. And as a child, I thought it was real. It's hokey and ridiculous now, but there were a lot of things that were conveyed by the serious character of Adam West, that the way he looked at life so seriously, even though the show was supposed to be hokey, I caught on to that serious portrayal and lived it in my life. So some of those things I emulate still to today. I don't have a Batman mask around here, but I do various props and things from that genre. For the last 25 years, I've really been involved in making elements from that hero. I have various things that have been brought back from Africa that I have here from my wife. I started out that exploration that I couldn't do, but she did. I wanted a drum set and a motorcycle, and we couldn't afford for us both to go, and I wasn't as into animals. That's a spear. This is another spear. Those are actual spears gotten from people in the Maasai village in Africa. That kind of started me off on, I can't go there, but I'm interested in those things. Bring me back those things so I can see them. Later on, I went a few places. I've been around the United States, in almost every state, in the Volkswagen camper van. My wife wrote a book. I helped her with it, but she wrote it. This is a sombrero I got from my first cruise with the family. I have various things like a Zorro hat, some implementation. This is a fake gun up here. I sometimes dress as cowboy characters. I have movie props that are nice, actual movie props. This particular one is the hammer that Rick O'Connell used to chip away at the ceiling. Jonathan was using this to play golf as he's waiting for them, and the sarcophagus fell in the city of Hamunaptra. That's one of those things. Of course, everybody has a copy of one of these. You know, but I have things that are surrounding me that are meaningful things, but they have to do with exploration and importance, not value necessarily in monetary. If somebody broke in here, they probably wouldn't find very many things that they even want. They probably wouldn't find very many things that they find any value with. But I have things that are surrounding me that are valuable. Like I have a collection of rocks that my daughter has brought to me as a child that she found, and she had this propensity to find any rock that was shaped like a heart. Amazing, amazing. I find those kinds of things interesting. Of course, it's for my daughter. So that's big stuff. Here we have a little golf club. It is expandable. When my grandfather died, this was one of the things that I used to play with as a child. Before he died, about age 4 or 5, and you'd hit it and it's expanded and it goes into the little holder thing that has a hole here. Here I have a bunch of drumsticks behind me. Those came from Bert Frangus. Bill Frangus was her husband, and that was the house next door to ours in Orlando, Florida. And when she fell and broke her hip and went out west to live nearer to her daughter so she could be cared for, we bought the house because we cared very much about the historic neighborhood, and we wanted to make sure those houses were brought back to their original pristine shape. Nothing had been done in that house. It was built in 1920. It needed a total redo. Unfortunately, one of the reasons why we're living with less means right now is because the recession hit right in the middle. The bubble popped right in the middle of while we were trying to renovate that house on the other side of our driveway. But the reason I have the drumsticks is because Bill Frangus, he was a jazz aficionado, and he had an entire room to the ceiling with records. And I could have, maybe if I was into that, I could have gotten more into it. I am into jazz, and I'm into jazz. And one of the reasons why is because I saw that he made his home open to jazz greats like Count Basie and Louis Armstrong and others that came into the town there to perform. And he even had a jazz radio talk show, and he would make his home open to them because those people, when they're in town, believe it or not, no matter how great they were, and by this time they were great, they couldn't even go and be welcome in the various places, even the ones that they played in. And so he opened the home to them, and I studied, got into jazz, and my son plays jazz. He's an aficionado. And one of the things I like about jazz is that it took humans' oppression. It came out of when those that were pushed down had nothing. The creative spirit could not be broken. And in those slavery fields and the music, and then later on when a horn was acquired, and the way that it's progressed through Louis Armstrong and some of the earlier people that put it into the music, and they did what they did, it shows the creative spirit cannot be broken. And these people that are lower really are high. And it kind of reminds me of Jesus' teachings, the last will be first, the first will be last. Jazz very much says that to me. We have the Les Miserables poster. I went to the 10th anniversary. I got it signed by all the cast members at Broadway. And this is very important to me because Victor Hugo and everything, one of the things he wanted to say is this story should continually be told, how the lofty ideals of the elect and the elite of society can make others conform and be oppressed and pushed into difficult circumstances that are just abhorrent and disgusting because of their arrogance and feeling that they're right and they're correct. And again, a lot of the formalized church, this irritates me because I see that kind of thing, and I see souls that would come not coming because they're kept out somehow because of this ill of man to think we've got it and you don't. Do what we say and how we say it, or you don't get it. So those kinds of things are important to me. I keep around me some of my staff I did from weapons trainings and stuff in martial arts. I have a drum there that I went to a nice little day out in Mount Dora with my wife when the kids were over at Grammy and Grampy's house. I have various things that I have up here that are just props and things that I use for costuming. I have a lot of things boxed up and put away, but this is kind of like a little corner of my world. Try to make me feel comfortable and remind me of where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the idea of a regular person, not a man's man, not a hero, not a tough guy, not a Marlboro man, not a guy that, hey, the world belongs to us and we're going to throw everybody else out that doesn't make us first. Not like that. Because what I have on the other side, the artsy one approach of me, is to see through analytics and the training that I've become as an artist, not to paint nicer necessarily, even though I did do all those things, but to take and see all the things that are in the world and what they mean and how they should be valued and seen in a more multidimensional thing and even into the non-physical realm and the understanding of the greater importance of all things. I try to surround myself by things like this. And in my life with artists, one of the things I came into were a lot of people that were very zealous about art. A lot of them were had propensities towards gay, type of things like that. And especially in Broadway, a lot of people, they want the flamboyant lifestyle. They don't want to just be stiff and stodgy and be a guy and a tough guy or whatever. They want to have life be more meaningful. I think the word gay really is not a bad word, because wouldn't we all like to see things elevated a little bit for ourselves? Wouldn't we all like to be a little bit gay in that way without a negative context? Without, I can't be that way unless I admire for sexual gratification those that are like me. I mean, that's so limited. I almost don't even want to talk about that, because we could all find gratification in other ways if we so wanted to or chose to or had propensity towards it. That's really not what it's all about, is it? It's a view of life. And I think that if there's a problem with that and it wasn't meant for someone, who's you to tell that? Maybe they need to be looking at that and they need to be saying, I'm going to have everything else right and I'm going to struggle with that maybe. But I'm not going to struggle with it because man points a finger at me. I'm going to struggle with it because I want my heart to see what the Creator desired. I want to find that. Who knows whether the all-powerful God could show all people a different way, a different perspective throughout all time, that even though I know we have various things that for Christians say, the only way is through him, and those things, and we want to be alienating and pushing out rather than inclusive, and we are very judgmental so that we can feel like we're in this sect that are going to be okay and the rest aren't. I keep these things around me to remind me of my worldly experiences, but also that they don't define me. I like to think of the cheesecake in The Matrix 2 that the girl ate. The code that's underneath that physical facade is causing the reaction in the heart, the mind, and spirit. That code that you cannot see but for the physical presence on that cheesecake, that code comes from greater places. And we need to be able to see through those physical things, those physical realm things, but not do without them, but be comfortable with them and see them as more, so that we can react and use them properly, so that we can have a full, rich life and have what we do in this life, every single thing we touch and do and see and find in our explorations, realize what the meaning of them is, the heightened conscious understanding of them, and see beyond them, so that we don't throw away the baby with the bathwater, we don't store up our treasures here on earth, but we realize what everything means and what purpose it serves and how it plays. Transfer that to others and have others realize the value of finding treasures in the more significant areas where beyond what we see around us. So I have this around me, but I see out. I've chosen to see a view. We pay more money to have that view. It's a harder life because I could just sit back and just not do as much. But, I think we're not supposed to have our silos filled and do nothing. We are supposed to not bury our talents in the ground. The master won't be pleased. I saved this for you. Here you go. Have it back. No, we are to do with what we have. So I face outward. I face outward into the light. I face outward into the surrounding areas. I can see for many, many miles in every direction. It's ironic that having that ability, even though I have this low property type of thing where we're not living up the high life or anything like that, it's ironic that just to have that extra little thing causes me to work so much harder. And one of the things that bothers me is that I'm working so much harder to pay for the things that mankind has. One of the things that bothers me is, what could I have done better with my time and effort if I didn't have that How much better could I have done? Like Schindler and Schindler's List, when he was gotten to the end of his life, he was so tormented, and Liam Neeson did such a great job of this. He looked at all the things, even the buttons on his shirt, and say, this could have bought the soul or life of another person. This could have... So I don't want to get caught up in that, but at the same time, if I don't keep this balance around me and remind myself of like the importance of the physical realm, Jesus came to the physical realm. Jesus did his work here in the physical realm, but his parables and his teachings spoke not only to the physical realm, but the relation and the modeling and the same correlation of the non-physical realm. Jesus spoke about those things. I have to remind myself on a daily basis about those things so that I can stay focused. And I think, the phrase we've all heard, if you don't remember our history, we're doomed to repeat it. I was, as a child, understanding these concepts. I rededicated my life 25 years ago, halfway through my life, to these concepts, thinking more as a man would. I raise my family and do the things that I do in my life because I must, because my physical body has needs, because those that depend on me have needs, because the things we do in this world, pay taxes and help others in those physical realms, I can't neglect that. But at the same time, with my extra energies, I speak to you. I speak to anyone that would see, and I'm going to start trying to develop more and more of a network that wants to help on those same things. And I'm speaking to you today with a little bit more insight as to where I come from, so that if you were wondering, oh, there's a guy sitting in the chair, I've seen him 100 times before in the last 15 years, there's more to it, way more to it. I won't share these things with my friends necessarily or family, because so many that know me see me as Paul. So many that know me see me as the person who I am in this physical realm. And Jesus said it's very difficult for a prophet to be respected in his own country. Why? Because you see them as the physical realm object that they are. You don't see the beyond. So one of the reasons why I've kept these other things separate, and then my other daily life separate from everybody, is so that only those that would seek and see anything that I said that had any relevance or pertinence, only those would speak with me, rather than any people that would shoot down ideas thinking, that's just Paul, what does he know? How much time would I waste on that? If they're not going to look and genuinely search for these things, but only use the things that I say and do for titillation so that they have little buttons to click on and they can let their negative animosity out and whatnot, then that's not going to be productive. And I'm going to be wasting my time. Now, I believe that the narrow road is very, very narrow. I believe that very few people on the planet even could be on that narrow road. I believe in my lifetime I may not even meet one. But one thing I do know, that's only a belief. It's possible I know them. It's possible I will. But one thing I do believe I know, even though I feel I know nothing, is that I can't know whether they are or not. So I operate towards every single person, not as a brother, but as higher than a brother. As the Good Samaritan did when that person was on the ground. Didn't matter whether he was the brother. Didn't matter whether he believed the same. Didn't matter whether the skin color was the same. He did what he would have done if that were him. So when Jesus gave that last commandment to do unto others in my teachings in love as you would have done unto yourself, I bumped that up past brothers, because the brothers that he was referring to that he was sitting with were Jews, fellow Jewish chosen people from his lineage that came, and they were the brothers he spoke of. But when the work on the cross was done, and Jesus said, on you, Peter, I'm going to build my church, and he gave up his soul, and there's a loud thunderclap, and the temple curtain was torn where the holiest of holies was. Now other men can go into that holiest of holies. We need to realize that we have the ability to relate to what those priests related to, and have God relate to us, because that impenetrable curtain is torn. Whether you look at the things in the Bible that, the Genesis count, Moses, Abraham, how that all took place, the flood, all those things, whether you look at them as it happened just the way you see it or the way it's been told, or whether it's symbolic, or some of the details can fall off, or some of the details get distorted so that man does a certain action or way so that he will conform to the way that man has shaped the church or whatever. Those are all things that are coming from Father says. Jesus says, call no man Father. Jesus says, come right to me. as a little child. Rely not on your own understanding and limitations, but come right to me as a little child. To the extent that a father takes and governs in a way that shapes the church, the formalized church, so that these little ones could come, he takes the danger upon his shoulders, which is something that I don't want to do. That's why I encourage you to study and look. To the extent that he deprives one that would have come, in any measure, the feeling as though the large millstone would be better tied around your neck and thrown into the ocean is a very important thing to realize. And the idea that one day God may say, I don't know you. People will say, well, we spoke in Jesus' name. Don't know you. How many churches do you know? Look at my video about the top 10 things that Christians can get wrong. How many churches do you know that if Jesus was right there, he wouldn't say, oh my goodness, you've got all these things wrong. The very person, me, that you're serving, Jesus, doesn't, wouldn't say it that way. So this is what I speak to. When Jesus would say, this is not subscribing to my teachings. You've created a church. You've created an entity here. This is why I'm sharing more about who I am, where I've come from, what I want to do. And I call once again onto you to speak with me, to be a part of me in this cyber age where I don't have time to go around and say hello, be my friend, be my compadre, talk with me. I only have time to raise my family. I only have time to do these basic things on this level that I have here, which I do for free because I would never want to hold something back that could have someone be seen and found and call and knock and understand. In this way, if you feel those things and you see that very few are giving the message in the way that I'm trying to give it, where you go out and seek and see if it's like that, rather than because I say, if you're seeing some things that so many people are missing, we owe it to ourselves to talk to one another, to help and be helped, and to help others. If you can hear these words and understand what I'm saying, you need to be one of those people. And we need to know of one another at least. So I'm Paul Roberts of Conscious Counseling 101, and this is my objective for you to reach out to you for. This is what I'm needing to become, where I know this is being heard more and more people can see the strength of the word itself, what it means without the restrictions and push down things that a formalized church that has to serve its constituents in a way that I can't be there tomorrow if I don't get the money for the means to help pay for the things that we have. My concern is that this can create a danger of distortion of the word to do things so that that community will remain. And if it goes beyond a certain point, who knows what that point is, we can't judge, then it's serving money to do it. And the abomination of the distortion of the word is my concern. And because we know that the love of money is the root of all evil, according to Jesus' teachings, he who founded the church on that rock. And if we find ourselves susceptible to that, we need to be extra careful. This is my message in every video, in every practical sense that I'm going to speak to you on, counseling-wise, life coaching-wise, every which way. Any questions you want to have answers to or suggestions of what the answer may be so that you can look in the right places and see if that is the answer. If you can find that works as the answer, that's what I'm here for. How many people in the world are going to do that? Not on a titillation sensibility, like, oh, look at this cool character on the internet here. He's got a lot of followers or she's got a lot of followers. I want to be a part of that action. How many people are going to see the value of these words that I'm saying and where they're coming from without any titillation or exclamation points, but just in the content of what they are and what they mean? Those are the people I want to speak to. And I'm relatively confident that if you're watching now and you're listening now still at this point, you're one of them. Because why would you have wasted your time? You must be really bored. You've got to have a reason to see and hear these things and see some validity and find some searching in your own life and heart and soul. And you're going to do that. And if you do, you're already kind of on the same page. But it's so hard to find others that are on that same page. I would love to have that for, I guess this is selfish and this is where my weakness comes out. my own bolstering of faith. If I only rely on myself, I'm not doing what Jesus said. Okay? We've got to make sure we're gathering with our brothers. We've got to make sure that we're also receiving input, two-way correspondence, rebuking sometimes, love, immersed in that love for brothers. If we're by ourselves more, we still have the church, the idea that the man and the woman, or any two that are gathered in love, can be a church and they can loose and bind. But I really am saying, if you're hearing what I'm saying, reach out. Because I have that need, you have that need, and we're told that that need is worthy of having it. It's not a bad thing. That need is something that our reaching out in love for one another can actually make good things happen through that need. So I'm expressing that to you. This is Paul Roberts, Conscious Counseling 101. This is a small snippet of my world, what it means, some of the things around me, where it leads me to, where I came from, where I'm going to. Be a part of this small, little, humble world. Because those who have little will be given more. Those that have much, even that which they have, will be taken away from them. We're to store up our treasures in heaven. I surround myself with things of importance, with very little value, but I've shown you how some of those things translate in my work, in my point of view, in my remembering my history back to a little child, and in my dedication to having everything I'm about have meaning and be shared in a way that others that choose can benefit. And then my life purpose will have had all the meaning it needs. That's Paul Roberts. Hope to talk to you about me and you and anything that you'd like to. Signing off. Have a good one. I'll be there if you want me to, so long as I can.